Survivor's ready. Go!
Travis spoken.
Boston Rob and Amber are gonna do it.
This is a business trip, as I like to say.
You, Brad Culpepper.
I'm tired of you and the fucking chicken.
You can call me the puppet master. They can be my little puppets.
It's not like you're making a deal with the devil here.
You get to milk your own milk, I guess.
Who the hell voted for me?
Chicken.
We got enough rocks here, too. We could build a pretty decent shelter just using rocks.
I'm supposed to talk Lime, or you? You understand that better?
Direct from Hobart, it's time for the only Survivor podcast in Australia dedicated to Survivor, bringing you all the latest interviews, episodes, and opinions from the greatest reality show on the planet. It's Survivor Oz, and here's your host, Ben Waterworth.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to Survivor Oz, Australia's number one TV and film podcast and Australia's only Survivor podcasters. We're coming to you live to talk about the finale and reunion of Survivor Cambodia Second Chances at a very different time, the very first time we have ever done one of these directly after the US airing of Survivor, because it's not just the US airing of Survivor, there was also the Australian airing of Survivor, because thankfully Go did the very first thing that they'd ever done in terms of showing it live. Good on you, Go, great work, and it's obviously been a bit of a success, because not only do we have 12 viewers here live right now, Survivor Finale, hashtag Survivor Finale, is, well, it was the third, now it's dropped to fourth, but it's trending in Australia right now on Twitter, so there you go. It's a lot of people stayed home sick to watch it, or they slept in after seeing Star Wars at midnight, so good job there, Go. You've done Australia proud, but we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover, and just for those who are listening right now or are watching live who haven't seen Star Wars, I will not spoil it that Jar Jar Binks is the Sith Lord. So, let's get into introducing people on this episode, including all the way from the US of A, Mr. Patrick Gustafson. Pat, welcome back, and just let people listening, Jar Jar Binks, yeah, it's not in the movie, so hi, Pat.
How's it going, Ben? Glad to be here.
Great. How are you feeling? It's like good time for you this, at the moment. It's not like 2 a.m. in the morning.
No, it's great. I do this. Maybe this could be a theme.
Yes, talking about Survivor.
It won't be.
Yeah.
Yes, it probably won't be, but yes, thank you. Also joining us from America, also loving this time that's not super early, Jordan Rose. Jordan, welcome back.
I would have gotten up for you early, guys.
Oh, wasn't that sweet?
I'm glad to talk about the finale, which, after Jeremy won Final Four immunity, was entirely predictable, but until then it was great.
I think it might have been a bit more predictable even before that one, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Also joining us, well, usually from England, but he's actually in Australia right now. It is Mr. James Pickering. James, welcome back.
Hello guys, thanks for having me, and glad to be here to talk about the episode and just talk about Keith for 3 hours, because he's the star of the show.
Yes, well, I'll be happy to talk about Keith for that amount of time. Maybe not 3, there's stuff to do in this time. And anyway, also joining us from Australia is a man who I've just put on cam on Spreecast, because he wants to show off the fact that he's not only in my house, but he's showing off a Chewbacca
It's a
cup.
Wookiee!
It's a Wookiee! Noah Grove! No, welcome back to Survivor Oz. Welcome back to my house as well.
Yeah, I've got my Star Wars sippy cup, so yeah, sitting in your house. I think we've had about...
Prove it. I want you to walk up right now. See everyone pointing at the door? Get up. Walk up. Go to the door. People don't believe you.
I think they believe me.
Move. Walk. Come on. Stop being lazy.
Yeah, we've had about 3-4 hours sleep coming off
2 beers.
Star Wars. Jar Jar is not in it, but yeah, we had to get up rather than sleeping in after our 5 a.m. debrief of Star Wars, because we had to watch Survivor, and I agree, Keith is the star. And I've got a Wookiee sippy cup, so woo!
Not woo. I've got a Frantel the Perfect Traveller 600ml bottle of water.
Well, I got a Wookiee cup, and you got a, well, I can't say, but you got a not as cool cup as
I got the Evil Dude.
Yeah, but that's no Wookiee. Well, I've got the Evil Dude too. I've got the Evil Dude and the Wookiee.
Well, Catherine didn't get one at all. She's telling us in the chat right now. I'll just go get my Spectre cup. I like that better.
Yeah.
Anyway, Survivor, the finale. We've got another winner of the show. We've got another 2 runners-up, 4th place, 5th place, 6th place. We've got controversy. We've got a new season to talk about. We've got a lot of stuff, but let's kick it off with our thoughts of the finale. Let's start with you, Noah. What's your take on the actual finale itself?
I hear the tweets right now. Hashtag Noah hates Cambodia. I didn't love this finale. I thought it was kind of, here's Ben coming on the screen. I didn't love the finale. I thought it was kind of very obvious. It was like, yes, we knew that. We knew that Kimmy was going because she got heightened airtime, even though that was a pretty cool tribal, but also pretty stupid, and we'll get to that because I'm furious about that. I'll just say that me, Ben, and Ozlet Paul all watched it live, so that was fun. I also, it was obvious Keith was going, it was obvious Kelly was going, it was obvious that Jeremy was winning, and really there was no finale-ness. It was just so cram-packed. It was just over and over and over tribal challenge. There was no, like, other than a short breakfast and a callback to the mirror, there was no, like, there was nothing that was just like, yeah, this is the end of our journey and all this stuff. It was just trouble. And then Jeff with his play-by-plays and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was a fine ending. I didn't hate it, but it was pretty meh if we're really thinking about it. But, yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, that's my cup. People are... I got the droid thing.
Well, I got a Wookiee.
And, look, see? Spectre. And Big Brother. Anyway, whatever. Jordan, what did you think of the episode? We're getting sidetracked already.
I think without the final 6 day that they showed, I think it was I guess it was planned because it was just one day of the final 6, and they got lucky in that it was easily the best tribal council. Maybe not easily, but it was the best tribal council of the season, and that's saying something considering how many good tribal councils there have been. But they got really lucky that the final 6 was in the finale. Otherwise, it would have been bad. It would have been a bad finale if it was just the final 5 going through, to the final 3. Like I said, completely predictable. Maybe, you said earlier than Jeremy winning immunity, but I think, I think there could have been some shuffling going around if Jeremy hadn't won. The editing was making, it was a really obvious edit, but I think, without the final 6 tribal in the finale, that the finale would be one of the worst finales ever. But after the final 6 was great. After that, it sucked.
James, your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought the final 6 was obviously quite entertaining. I think there's a reason why they put that final 6 in the finale and they didn't have a double boot episode beforehand, because as was said, it would have been a pretty tedious finale otherwise. But I mean, I did think it was an interesting finale. I enjoyed it. It's the edit that Spencer received all season kind of had me thinking towards the end. I was like, well, this must it doesn't make sense for Spencer not to receive any votes. He must receive some and put up some form of fights. But then the Jeremy obviously then pulled it out 10-0. So it was a relatively predictable finale, but I mean they did enough with the editing throughout the season with Spencer for me to think that perhaps there potentially could be something going my way. And look, I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed Keith. I just love Keith, and any Survivor season is better with Keith on it.
And Mr. Gustafsson.
I was really mixed on the finale, mixed feelings, and that's generally how I felt about the season in general. I definitely agree the final 6 was the best part. It didn't really even dawn on me until Jordan said it that if that weren't in there, it really would have sucked. But the final 6, by the time Tribal Council was over, it was already 45 minutes into the episode. I think by having the final 6 there, it was good because it added more entertainment and a lot of, really good stuff, but it really crammed the episode, and it didn't give us a lot of time. The thing though that I did like about it was, out of the 6 remaining people, it really felt like, we had really gotten to know all of these people, and we were really engaged with them. There wasn't any random people, any random goats. So, the outcome, it was a bit predictable, especially the final speech, but we'll get to that, I imagine. But overall, I'm mixed, but I'm leaning towards the good side.
I'm not one to give my opinions too much on these episodes, I feel, but I just want to say that...
Well, that's good, because we don't want to hear them.
Good, well, I know you do, but we've got more we've got double the viewers here this afternoon, Noah, so maybe one of them wants to hear it. I think this was definitely a very average finale, and yeah, I agree with the fact that they definitely put that final 6 bit in there to make it interesting. If that wasn't in there, yeah, probably one of the bottom finales of all time, because as soon as that vote happened, it was just super predictable. It was just so predictable. And the only way... I kind of think, Jordan, what you were saying before, actually, I probably was a little bit mean there by saying the whole thing was predictable, but I think I know what you were saying in terms of once Jeremy won that immunity. Although, I do think had Kelly made that final tribal council, she wins, but we'll get to that. But I think, yeah, as soon as that 6 went, it was very predictable how it was going to play out. So, yeah, and it kind of, as Pat just said, this season... It's just a very average to their season, and maybe we'll get to it at the end. We'll ask where would you rank this season roughly if you were to do that. But as there's a bit to cover, I want to start straight away with the one thing that I know Noah and I died to talk about the most, the one thing that had the most reactions from myself, Noah, and Paul when we were all watching it together, and the one thing that constantly got a bit of criticism on social media for the comments that I was putting up there as well.
People hated you, as always.
Final 6 votes, this first in Survivor history. Basically, most people, I think, on that last week, and a few people out there correctly predicted it. It basically was both players played their idols, cancelled out the vote, so we had to have the re-vote, which then led into this interesting situation where... a unanimous decision had to be made, otherwise Keith goes home and all this sort of...
You're like Jeff Probst here, man.
Yeah, well, hang on a minute. Let me just get out my diagram. And
I think Jeff just wants his own podcast.
But yeah, I want to get some thoughts on this because I've got a lot to say on this. Noah's got a lot to say on this. I'm going to start with you, Pat, because you went last before, but... This whole voting situation, the so-called rules around it and how they described it and everything along those lines, I'm just putting this out there right now. Should have gone to Rocks, was stupid, and I think it was the absolute dumbest thing about this finale, and this is what I think really sets this finale down as a very average finale. Even though the Tribal Council was great, I think that quote, rule that they put in place with this and the reason it didn't go to Rocks is just bullshit. But anyway, Pat.
I mean, I see where you're coming from, but the way I look at it is that it was basically going to Rocks, but Keith was the only one that would have been eligible to draw Rocks because after Marquesas, they changed the rule that the people who get the votes would be immune, and we saw that in Blood versus Water, but it just so happened that 2 other people played their idols, so it was a process of elimination. I think they weren't expecting this type of situation to happen when they made that rule, and it was kind of unfortunate, and it really put Keith in a position where he almost sacrificed his game. I'm glad he didn't, but I don't think it was necessarily unfair because it was the rule, but I just didn't think that they ever suspected something like this to happen with 6 people left.
Jay.
But didn't you just say they changed the rule after Marquesas? So then... I'll leave my argument. Let someone else talk. I'll leave my argument.
They changed it.
Sorry, keep going, Pat.
I mean, they just changed it because, the 2 people that had votes in Marquesas... if that was the situation in Marquesas, Pascal would have went home automatically. That's basically the same thing that would have happened here, I guess. But I don't know why they changed it. But
I'm going to go to Noah next because I generally save Noah to last out of all these bits. But I want to kind of balance it out with that opinion, and we'll go to Noah right now with his opinion on it.
I haven't thought too much about it, but I was furious because they backed Keith into a corner, and don't give me any of this, oh, you're just angry because it was Keith and Kimmy, two of your favourite players. Well, yes, that was part of the reason, but even if Tasha was voted out this tribal council, it would be dumb. They backed him into a corner where if Keith didn't, like, Keith had no sway, like, yeah, he was going to give up his spot or whatever, but Kelly Wentworth's pretty much the only reason why he's there. If she didn't switch that, then Keith just goes home. Like, he has no say in it. Like, he's getting voted out, and he can't do a thing about it. And they always say they want the players to be able to play and make their rules and do what they do, but literally nothing he could do it. His only move was to quit the game or to vote and hope that someone else votes for Kimmy instead of him. They weren't budging. Keith could not do anything. So that's one angle of it. But the second angle is people are arguing. I think someone even said on Twitter it would be illegal for them to do something different, which give me a break. My counter argument to that is, well, it would be illegal for them to do a final 3 in season 13. Like, Pat even said it. They changed the rules after my cases. And then Paul said it best, is Jeff Probe said this was unprecedented. So, do they really have a rule for this? It's never happened and they were never expecting it. So what's to say that this is the rule? It could have been a 3-way draw between Kimmy, Tasha and Keith. And then let's also look at that at a producer standpoint, drawing rocks in a freaking season finale. Like, yeah, this was pretty dramatic and it was still a good moment and it was like, oh, holy cow. But drawing rocks on a finale? Like, that's crazy talk. That would have been what Paul said on here that, I bet you they were regretting that the next day. If they just thought of this through, they could have been having rock draws. So I think the whole thing was stupid where they were backed into a corner. We'll talk about Kimmy later because I think she was great tonight. But I see what people are saying, how they're like, oh, it's the rules. This would be unfair for them to change it. Is it really the rules? We've had 2 rock draws and both times they've had kind of altered rules like that are a bit iffy. And if they had those 3 draw rocks, no one's going to say, oh my God, this is not fair. It's more unfair for Keith where he literally has nothing to do to save himself other than hoping Kelly Wentworth would vote for Kimmy. So I think the whole thing's due. I'm sure there's more points I'm thinking, but I haven't really thought this argument through. Like, we're doing this Oztopsy straight after, unlike a few hours. Normally I get to formulate some ideas, but I see what people are saying, but at the same time, all 3 of us were just face-palming. I hated the way this turned out, and dramatic tribal council could have been more dramatic, and I don't like this argument of it's the rules because, well, it's the rules that we don't add another tribe in. It's the rules that we don't have a twist where someone can steal someone else's votes. Like, the rules of Survivor are very icky. There's no Survivor rule book. So, yeah, maybe I'm forgetting something, but that was my thoughts of it. I can see what people are saying. I didn't like it at all. And not just because it was Kimmy and Keith.
Yeah, I just want
to stress that.
Quickly say something too. Sorry, James and Jordan here, not trying to...
Sorry, I went on.
No, it's, I mean, the comments I got was, yeah, exactly. One of the ones sort of I was accused of saying was I was only complaining because it was Kimmy, one of my favourites. I'm exactly the same as no. If that was Tasha or anybody else there that necessarily wasn't my favourite, I still would be the exact same opinion of this. I mean, one of my biggest problems with the Marquesas rock draw was the fact that Pascal basically he wasn't even a target that night, and he was the one who went home. I always said it should have been the rock draw between Nalia and Kathy, just those two, because they were the targets. This rule that Kimmy and Tasha are immune because they got votes against them is ridiculous. If anything, those two should draw for a rock. Keith should be immune because he wasn't a target. Have those two draw rocks. Like, why are you immune because you get votes? Yes, okay, that was a rule in Blood vs. Water, but it's exactly, I agree with everything.
Well, not even in this particular situation. That's how rock draws should always be. My case is a bit different because Pascal could have saved himself had he changed his vote. Mm-hmm. But even Blood vs. Water, I think the rule should be it's against the people who got votes. I don't like this is just a personal point. I'm not going to get into illegal rule breaking or anything. Just a personal point. I don't think that I think it should be between the people who got vote, or at least they shouldn't be immune. It should be everyone has to draw except for the people with immunity.
And Survivor basically is a game where it's kind of portrayed out there that, in a way, there are no rules, and it's a TV show where, as Noah said, like, you know, Final 3, that's going against what it was. You know, they can bring in twists and changes at any point of the game. I mean, you know, Redemption Island, let's have somebody opportunity who was voted out to come back in again. That goes against the form of Survivor. So this is, I think, for people to say it's illegal, it's the rules. Like, there's no groundwork rules. This isn't soccer where the rule is you can't touch the ball with your hand. Like, this is a TV show, Survivor, where they can change anything up at any point of the game and change things up that they think didn't work a few seasons ago. Anyway, James.
Firstly, just a bit on that point. I fundamentally disagree with you guys. I think that the way the rocks are currently played and the rules surrounding the rocks, I think, those are the rules, and that's the best way of doing it. I mean, there's been plenty of points in Survivor history where the vote has been changed by people who are scared to go to rocks because they put their life at risk in the game. If you then eliminate that aspect of a rock draw, you eliminate that danger, then we'll be going to rocks all the time.
Yeah, but what about the people not immune? Like, I'm not saying that the other people who didn't get votes don't have to draw, but surely Kimmy and Kelly should as well, and the people who got votes in Bloodless was, so everyone draws.
Well, so I just like the aspects in terms of I agree with if the tribe cannot make a decision on who goes, then they lose their power to make that decision, and it goes to rocks. I like the aspect in terms of, I mean, I for some reason, and I do disagree. I think that today, the way the final 6 went down, I enjoyed the way that went today. I enjoy the fact that it was, because I mean, I think Survivor fundamentally is. I mean, no one said Survivor's fair. Although it would have been incredibly unfair for Keith to go when he wasn't a target at all, I think that would have made that would have been the way the game played out, and I think that without the way that the rules were set out this evening, we wouldn't have gotten what I found an incredibly touching moment with Keith saying he'd give his space up for Kimmy. I know that's completely against how to play Survivor, and it's a horrible move in terms of how to win the game, but like, I really enjoyed that kind of character moment, and that moment of humanity in a game which is all about kind of deception and deceit and stuff like that. I mean, I enjoyed the way today played out. I wouldn't have changed anything about it.
Jordan,
I had no problem with the way it played out. I think the rock draw is there like as a threat from the producers, saying like, if you can't figure this out on your own, then you're all in trouble. And so one of you might go home, or one of you is going to go home. So I had no problem. I have no problem with the rocks overall. Tonight was different. I don't like. Everyone had a. I'm sorry, there were 3 people who were immune, so I think it was only fair that they re-voted, because now, you know, there's 2 extra people with immunity, and they should have to do a re-vote. You know, you could have a 4-2 situation, or even a 5-1. You know, it could be not a consensus, but like a majority decision to vote somebody out. And if it's tied, then you do what they did, and they have a discussion. And Keith has to say that I don't want to go home, and Kimmy goes home, or if they decided to send Tasha home, but obviously it was going to be Kimmy. So I had, and Jeff said, like, it's up to the players to decide, and I don't think the producers want rocks. Like, it's a threat to the players to say if you can't figure it out.
What about also the fact that people were talking about the rules, but Keith Nail didn't know that it would come down to the fact that if he knew that, maybe on the vote he would have changed his vote. If he knew that it was going to come down to the fact that Keith, you're fucked unless Kelly changes her vote. Like, he didn't know that.
That's because Keith doesn't know Survivor rules.
No, none of those players would have known that. Like, no one would have known that that's what it was going to come down to. Jeff should have said that before they did the vote.
Well, I think eventually Keith figured it out and he did, obviously. Like, Jeff told him, like, Keith, you're going to go home unless you come to a consensus.
Yeah, but that was after the revote, though. Like, he should have said that we're revoting. If it's a tie, it's going to come down to you, Keith. Like, the players should have known what was going to happen.
Yeah, but it still would have happened anyway.
Well, then he may have changed his vote then, if he knew that it was going to... Because you saw his reaction. He's like, Keith, then it means it comes down to you. And everyone was like, oh, golly. Like, if he knew that, then maybe something... Like, we're talking about rules, but the players should be clear on the rules if we're going to spout, rule... That's what my opinion is.
Well, I'm sorry. I have no problem with how it went down tonight. And, like, Keith is not the most savvy player on the season, obviously, and I think he's not very good. I think at the game at all. And I think. Well,
I think at the end of the day, though, he's ultimately a fourth placer and a fifth placer. I think that you can't take that away from him yet. Like, he might not be the most strategic, intelligent person out there. But, if we're going to use the Sandra argument of she's a great player because she's a two-time winner, well, you could argue she didn't exactly do a whole lot of strategy and all that, but she still won twice, so Keith still makes it fourth and fifth. So.
Yeah, but she did know what she was doing, and Keith...
Well, Keith, I think, in certain elements knew what he was doing.
Well, Keith is not the smartest player, but my point is no one would have known what... Like, they weren't... Like, everyone seemed shocked when it was like, and it comes down to you, Keith. They should have been clear of that before the first revote, because it's not just Keith, the dumb player. If it happened to, like, Tasha, I think she would have been like, oh, shit, well, what? I don't get any say now? Like, I don't think it's just Keith. I don't think they were clear of what was happening.
Well, it came down to Keith saying, do I want to go home or do I want to stay? And, like, I don't even know why he was hesitating to vote out Kimmy. Kimmy, like, you don't have any connection to Kimmy if you're Keith. And it was just a no-brainer, and he wanted to quit until...
Here's a question.
And somebody... Yeah.
Just a quick question on it.
Go ahead, Ben.
In terms of, I think Noah was the one who mentioned it ultimately really in a way also came down to Kelly making that decision. Why would you keep Keith over Kimmy? Keith is good at challenges. So... Like, I guess with Kelly's, she wants to get to the end with Keith, of course, because she's in an alliance. But, like, wouldn't you kind of want to have that opportunity for, say, Kelly to win in challenges and, keep going? Because, I mean, no disrespect to Kimmy, if you're comparing them in challenges and you want to be able to beat them in that to make it to the end and pull a mic, you want to be able to go up against people you can beat.
I think it's also, like, the trust factor. Like, Kimmy flipped. She made the Sierra move in flipping at the final six, and I don't think... Well, if I were Kelly at that point, I wouldn't be able to trust Kimmy, and Keith's a very easy person to trust. So I would have no problem with sending Kimmy home. Let's
talk about Kimmy. I guess we kind of have to go through them one by one here and eulogizing them and everything along those lines, given that, there's a few to get through in this episode, but I think kind of we all were thinking it was going to be Kimmy no matter what, because all of a sudden this is a person who's getting no edit, and she's like full in our face. But props to Kimmy. Like, she played a fantastic game. We all went into this season, I think, not really expecting a whole lot from her. And, I think for the most part, a lot of people said she would be a sort of an early or a middle boot. She made it to the final episode. She showed strategy, which I don't think any of us ever thought Kimmy Kappenberg would be dictating moves and trying to, make things happen the way she did. And I'm sure there was a lot more things we didn't see of Kimmy Kappenberg that if she had made it further, we would have made. But I personally think she is one of the stars of this season. Ultimately, one of the people who achieved so much on this season, and maybe the MVP in terms of what they did in their first game around to their second time around. And I'm not taking away from, say, Jeremy, who obviously won the season. We'll get to him. But if you kind of compare the seasons, Jeremy, I guess, in a way, was similar to many aspects, and he just kind of got the chance now to be able to win the game a second time around. Whereas Kimmy, like, if you go back and watch the Australian Outback, are you ever going to predict she's going to be in the final episode and, be a couple of votes away from potentially winning this game? I think absolutely not. So, yeah, Kimmy, I think all the props to her. James, what's your take on Miss Kappenberg?
I think she played extremely well. I think that it's one of the. I mean, her storyline could have potentially been a fantastic. I mean, Jeff's bagging on about second chances and all that crap all season. I mean, her story going from being the loudmouth woman who was talking about masturbating on her first night in a tent in Australia, getting voted out for being a loudmouth and stinking and everyone hating her. I mean, she goes all the way to the end. I reckon if she gets to that final tribal council, having pulled off that move at Final Six, with a story to tell about bringing up 2 young kids, I think she's a potential winner. And I think her storyline obviously was buried because didn't really fit in with the winner's story or how the season really played out. But it's a shame. She played very well, and I'm glad she had a chance on the season.
just checking. That might be an important phone call if you need to answer it at all, there, James. Pat, Kimmy.
I definitely agree. I'd say out of the final 6, Kimmy's story definitely emulated the second chance. It seems that, the only other one you can make an argument for would be Kelly Wentworth, but I definitely think that Kimmy changed the most. And I couldn't see her winning solely based off of what they showed of her. She had a few episodes where she was a star, the Monica episode, and then for the first, until she got voted out this episode, she was a star. But I just couldn't see it coming full circle in terms of her being a winner.
Jordan. Hello, Jordan.
Sorry, it was my mic was off. Was it just Kimmy's legacy?
Yeah, just Kimmy's game in general. Your thoughts? Eulogize Kimmy.
Yeah, I don't think it was spectacular. I think it was good. She didn't appear to make a lot of strategic moves. Getting Monica out was great. That was probably her best moment, and it came pre-merge. It's not, she did make a couple of key moves post-merge. I think the flip at Final 6, I think, it was the right move. It was the Sierra move, and obviously, she was in a tight. No, she was the 4th in a four-person alliance, and she made the right move. I just think she could have been, more secretive about it. She could have kept it. She didn't even have to tell Kelly and Keith that she was going to flip. I think she just should have asked them, who are you voting for? I'm thinking about jumping to you guys, but I'm not sure. So I think it was the right move, but I think she was, too open about it. Just walking off with Keith to get water was was something that she didn't have to do and was suspicious. And but yeah, she made the right move. She didn't do a whole lot otherwise, other than the Monica vote. And when your biggest move is pre-merge, that's not really a good determining factor if you're up against the jury. They want to see the moves that you made.
Noah.
And a pre-merge move's not that great as being your best move.
Noah.
I loved Kimmy. One of my biggest gripes with this season is my 3 favourites, Wigglesworth, Kimmy, and Keith, were the 3 that were barely shown. And I get it with Wigglesworth. We've already went through that. Let's not go over that again. I get it with Keith because he's not very strategic, and this was a strategy-heavy season. Kimmy, no effing clue. Kimmy's confessionals were hilarious. She was bright. She was bubbly. She had some strategy, and even when she wasn't making moves, she was still narrating strategy. I had no clue why they didn't show her. I think it's ridiculous, and I don't think they have a good excuse for it. She was a big part of the story this season, so shame on them, but whatever. But yeah, I think she's going to be overlooked as a character player just because of her edit. Yeah, it wasn't spectacular, and she wasn't making big moves all the time, but she was going along and she was doing the right things. And I kind of had a bit of a little Twitter tiff with Jervis Peterson this afternoon because he was saying big moves don't get you to the win, loyalty does. And I'm like, loyalty would get Kimi Kappenberg to 4th place. This big move, which granted, I guess it's a big move, would possibly get her the win. If not, at least final 3. Like, yeah, loyalty is definitely a huge part of it. But the big move, as long as it's the right big move, then that's going to help you get there. This wasn't just a random move like Fishback and that. They were making moves that were just, we have to make a big move. This was one that would literally put her into the finals. She would have something on her resume. And yeah, we could talk about, she was too obvious about it. Jeremy was completely fooled. If it wasn't for Spencer, who again, I don't think Spencer should have said it out loud at Tribal Council. I think they should have been more covert than that. But if it wasn't for Spencer, she would have...
I agree, no, that was... Yeah.
On which point? Spencer or...
Yeah, Spencer.
Yeah,
adding it out of Tribal.
I thought that was a mistake, but...
He was a dick.
There was a bit of Dickie Spencer moments. We can't deny that. But... Yes, I think she's overlooked, and I think this would have been a brilliant move because this is an individual game. Play for yourself, play to win. And it was the perfect time to make a move like this. So Jeremy was fooled, Tasha was fooled, so it was only Spencer. So good on her for trying to get herself there. And can I just say, look, I like Jeremy, and we'll get to his win. I think he's a very good winner. I'm going to have great positive things to say about Jeremy. And I know it's the heat of the moment, but probably the worst thing I've heard this season is, I'm so disappointed in you, Kimi, and all this stuff. Like, how dare you not be my number 4? Like, it was just, oh my God. Like, I know it's heat of the moment, but I think he's the kind of player who respects plays and that. Like, seeing them go to Kimi, I know they were trying to get her on their side and that, but they were pushing her further away. They were alienating her and telling her to her face that she's number 4. How dare you do this, Kimi? You've disappointed me. How dare you not fall on the sword and let me go to the final Tribal Council? You're supposed to be my number 4, Kimi. How dare you play to win? But anyway, that really annoyed me. But again, I don't hate Jeremy. I've got some positive things to say, but that was him and Spencer. This whole episode had a few douchey moments.
It was very reminiscent of Tyson. Your seat's over there. And that episode, remember, like, wow, Tyson's just lost the game based purely on that. But I think the difference is I never thought Jeremy lost his game based on that, but it still was very, very douchey. I agree with that. Now... We're just kind of going to go through the players, I think, really here, because from this point on, it was kind of when it was pretty much predictable. We knew the order that was going to happen. We kind of knew how the final 3 was going to play out. Challenge-wise, there's not a whole really lot to talk about, I feel, this episode. And there wasn't really a whole lot outside of the challenges, except for a few little red herrings. So we think we've got a lot to talk about, but there might actually be a fairly standard way of going through this. It's mainly about the players rather than what actually happened. So, obviously, Kelly Wentworth wins the immunity, which basically means that Keith looks like he's going home. We have this whole fake idol situation. We can talk a little bit about, should he have brought it out in the tribal to show it off and things like that. But, yeah, ultimately, Keith goes, and we had this fantastic little scene, though, with Jeremy trying to get Keith's attention, which was absolutely gold. Just sitting there like this good, I don't know how many minutes that went, but Jeremy's just like going, and then other Keith was going, who, me? What, me? What? So good.
That's why I love him.
But yeah, sadly, Keith goes home. I guess in this whole little bit, eulogise Keith, talk about should he have brought out the fake idol and anything else to add really here. I'll just say it again, I've said this a few times down the last few weeks, but to me, Keith is the new Big Tom. He's, to me, this great, lovable guy who everybody gets along with and always never going to be a bad word said against him. He comes across as aloof and that, he's maybe seems like he doesn't know what he's doing out there and playing the game, but I think that, maybe Big Tom, I will say, probably has a little bit up on Keith in terms of strategy and what he's doing, not to take away from Keith, because I think that Keith, while he's not exactly the most savvy player, he still does enough out there that he could easily win a season, and he's great in challenges, he is a challenge beast. and just an absolute amazing person to watch in Survivor, and don't know if we'll ever see him a third time, although I remember, Noah, you and I having a discussion saying that we probably would never see any San Juan del Sur people back again for another season, and we had 3 of them make the top 5, so who knows. But I'd love to see him play for a third time, but whether or not we see that, I don't know. Jordan, your take on Keith, the vote out, and Keith eulogising him?
He's a hard person to analyze. I mean, he's not that great of a player, obviously. He must have done something right, getting to 4th and then 5th. But he should have... I think he should have, taken out the fake idol at Tribal, saying, "Look, here's the idol. Come and get me," right? And then maybe somebody would have changed their mind. I don't know why. I guess Jeremy said, "Keep vote for Spencer." That's why they put their votes on Spencer. But Keith, I think I would have definitely. If I was in Keith's spot with the fake idol, just take it out and show it to everyone. Because all the idols look different. Nobody's, people are it's gonna cross people's minds that this could be a real idol, and they could say it could be fake, but I don't know. I think he should have shown the fake idol, even though I probably wouldn't have believed it. Just because, it's probably the least genuine-looking idol of them all. And, how much time did they have to look for it? Like a couple of hours? So I think it would have definitely been better for him to show the idol, or even for, Kelly to keep the idol until Tribal and say, "I'm giving this idol to Keith. If you vote for him, he's going to play that idol." And... I guess there's not much Keith could have done in this finale. I think he was out of it maybe from, I don't know, the merge. I don't know, just the way that he plays the game. I don't think he's respected, or he wouldn't have gotten enough respect from the jury unless he was up there with Abby and I don't know. Kimmy.
James.
Maybe even Kimmy wins then.
Sure. James, what do you think?
I think a character like Keith is needed on every season of Survivor. He reminds me more of kind of the old school way. He was a character rather than a strategist. It's fine having a few strategists who sit there and talk about splitting votes, but you need someone who jumps on a tuk-tuk and drives around the Cambodian beach. You need somebody who has that kind of real moral struggle with a.
Oh Jesus, Mr. Popular.
That's moral struggle calling up right now.
You need someone.
Do you need to quickly go and call someone there, James? Or?
No, someone call him me. But it's I think you need someone who has that moral dilemma in terms of not perhaps giving up his spot. Someone who doesn't just constantly think about the strategy and the game, and it's all because it is a human experiment, Survivor. And I love Keith. I think he's a fantastic character, and I would have him on any season of Survivor. Any season of Survivor is made better with Keith Dale on.
Mr. Paddy G.
I absolutely adore Keith. He's definitely one of my favorite characters ever. I feel that if he was on an earlier season of Survivor, he would be a legend, similar to Big Tom. And I feel vice versa. Say Big Tom was in Keith's spot, Big Tom would just be some fool. The way the game has evolved, Keith is really just such a breath of fresh air for the show. And to see someone in this day in Survivor when, they say, if you don't do this, you're going home. And he genuinely had to think about it and say, she's a mother. She needs this. He just seems like a really genuinely good guy. I don't think we'll ever see him again, solely because of the fact, we saw a lot of him in San Juan del Sur. We didn't see a lot of him this season because it was so dominated by strategy. But when we did see him, everything he did was just hilarious. I don't have a bad thing to say about Keith at all. I love the guy.
I love the guy. That's good. Noah.
I love the guy too. Easily in my top 10 all-time favourite survivors, if not top 5, if not my all-time favourite. Easily my all-time favourite of the season. I voted for him every day. I had to put a plea in the Osler Facebook secret group, pleading people to vote for Keith Nail because I feared he wouldn't make it on. So I'm just ecstatic he was even there. Again, part of the reason I'm not huge on this season, it's purely a personal reason. It should always be a personal reason, really, when you're ranking seasons. But Keith was my favourite, and he was barely existent in it. Kimmy was my favourite, barely existent, and they go out 6th and 5th, and both of them deserve more airtime because I'm not one of those people to bitch about, strategy in Survivor. That's the worst thing ever. Like, no, I like strategy, but you need to break it up more than what they did. This was too strategic. And we needed to see more Totos and stuff like that. So I love Keith. I'm glad that he didn't go out then because I feel like people would have called him a quitter, which wouldn't be technically maybe true, but not really fair. But yeah, it's kind of hard to, like, what do you base on what a good survival player is? Like, I'm not saying Keith's one of the all-time greatest, but I feel like it's hard to judge him against other people because he could have win, and he could win on plenty of seasons he's on, and he makes it far both times. He wins challenges. He's got an incredible social game. So, like, yeah, he's not a great strategist, but I feel like he could win if he makes it to the end on it. Like, he probably wouldn't have won this season, but I don't know. How do you, like, say he's a bad player? It's kind of hard to judge him against other people. And, yeah, he's definitely more old school, but I agree with James. Get Keith on every single season. And as for the play, we knew Keith was going home. Like, it was obviously a red herring. They put one more funny bit in there. They put a spit in there. It was so obvious. But yeah, I agree with everyone who said it that he should have pulled the idol out. But I also don't think it would have made a difference. I don't think they would have changed the vote. But I think he should have done it. Like, shame on him for not doing it. But, like, we've seen Keith Nail acting and Keith Nail trying strategy. Like, I think it would have come off incredibly fake with his idol going, oh, yeah. But he should have done it as a worth a try, but I don't think it would have changed anything. They were always voting for Keith, it seems. So, yeah. So, sad to see him go 5th and 4th. That's a pretty damn good record. I don't think we'll see him for a third time, mainly because they heavily under-edited him. He was robbed of an edit. We probably won't see him again, which is actually really upsetting because I would definitely love to see Keith on another season because he makes me laugh and I like to laugh. So, not seeing Keith again, and we also should say we're definitely not seeing Kimmy again, but I would love to see both of them again, especially Keith. So, not much of a legacy this time, but he deserved more of one. He's so brilliant.
And can I just point out, too, I said it to Noah when we were watching this, we've had 3 seasons in a row, 3 finales in a row where Noah Groves gets a Keith fix, because obviously Psalm 1 Del Sur, Keith fix, and getting to see Noah get all excited and that he sort of made it to the Final 4 and didn't get voted out, and then last season seeing Noah getting all excited and that he's been voted back onto the season, and this season there was no Keith excitement from Noah because he got voted out, so... Yeah. Anyway, next to go, well, we had the next challenge. It was the ball. I like the ball challenge, sort of the catching the balls and all that sort of jazz. It's fun. But it was kind of a case, if Kelly Wentworth doesn't win, she's going home. She didn't win. She goes home. So
common theme this episode.
We get a few red herrings like, oh, will Jeremy make them make fire? And, oh, will this happen? No. And we did kind of get Spencer Suckfest at Tribal Council like, oh, but you would definitely win, Kelly, and, ooh, and really trying to suck up to her for her vote on the jury. I did love Kelly's reaction in her confessional. Like, geez, Spencer. But I just want to point this out there. My pre-season pick to win, the closest I have ever come to a pre-season pick to win. I was a huge fan of Kelly Salman Del Sur. I was one of the fan wagon people who said that she could win this game. She was a great player. Sad we didn't get to see her, and would like to see her again. She's come back, and a lot of people were very anti-Kelly being on this season, like, oh, why is she there? She was a random sort of pre-jury pre-merge boot, like what the hell? But she played a fantastic game, and there was a conversation going on in our chat here when I brought up about Kimmy being the MVP, that you'd put Kelly into that category. I definitely agree with that. 2 stars of the season in terms of where they came into this season from are easily Wentworth and Kimmy. I would personally put Kimmy slightly ahead because, as I said in the chat, I don't think that anyone ever assumed that Kimmy Kappenberg would go this far and potentially could win the game based on what we saw on that first season. Whereas Kelly, she was sort of quite invisible and not the most memorable person from San Juan del Sur, but as I said, there were still people out there who talked her up as a good player and who could win this season. And there were a lot of people similar to me who predicted her as a winner, or at least going very far in this game. But I just think she played a fantastic game. She was entertaining to watch. We got to see a lot of her, which kind of, was great given that, as we said, she was invisible that first time around. So she was fun to be able to see her make these moves and do, strategic things. And she was on the bottom a lot, but then she fought her way through. She was great in challenges. And she's just fun. She's a fun person to be able to watch. We've had her on this show a couple of times. She's great to chat to. I'm looking forward to getting her on again, no doubt, after this season dies down a little bit. And I personally would love to see her play again. And I think there's every realm in the possibility we will see her play again. So that's me. Noah, you were I don't want to say very anti-Kelly. You didn't vote for her, I believe, and you weren't exactly the biggest fan. But I think it seemed like you came around her in a little bit this episode, or was that more just you wanted her over some of the other people?
That's partly more because I said that Jeremy Spencer Tasha Final 3 would be probably my least favourite Final 3 ever. So that's more of to do with the go Kelly. I didn't vote for her, and I stand by that. I don't think she should have been on this season. But wait, don't tweet me. I think she made a good impact on the season. I think she played hard. It was her second chance. She was obviously very upset. I think she deserved to get on purely because of her reactions with the fans. Like, so many people came out of the woodworks and was like, "Oh yes, I'm going to be posting in here, and you're going to give me your votes." But she was always doing that. Like, before the second chance voting, she was always interacting with people. So it's no surprise she got on. She deserved almost just from that. But I don't think she made enough of an impact to return. But this time round, she did good. She had great confessionals, some good gameplay. She won a few challenges. She made some moves, had 2 idols. So she's definitely one of the main characters of the season, and I was happy to watch her. Again, I like her as a person. I just don't think as a player she should have been on here, and I don't really want to see her play for a third time, but if she does, I'm not going to be upset about it. Like, she's just one of those players, like, sometimes you don't always have to love or hate. You can just think, they're all right. But I agree with you. I think there's a huge chance we're going to see Kelly Wentworth play again. A few weeks ago, I thought, I think we would maybe see Andrea a third time over her. But I think Kelly Wentworth could almost be a lock for another season. Like, she's not the new Parvati, but she's the new young, feisty female player. So, again, I think if she came back, she could make it far and possibly win. At the same time, I don't totally agree with you. I don't think she played a brilliant game. She was on the bottom for most of it. She was kind of she did a lot to keep herself alive, but she was kind of just like floating in the background of the bottom, like while other people picked off like Sierra because she was a bigger threat, Abby because she's annoying. And then the pre-merge, other than being in the alliance in the first 2 tribals, she never had to go to tribal council again, so she was easily just be able to float around. Yeah, easily a top 5 player of the season, don't get me wrong. I do think her fans overhype her game a lot, but I think she definitely could have won the game based on jury votes. I still think Jeremy would have beaten her, hands down, but I think it would have been much closer. And, I think we'll see her again. So Kelly made a good impact on the season, didn't vote for her, but was happy to watch her in the season. I thought she was good. Can't wait to hear her thoughts on when you interview her again.
On her thoughts about me interviewing her. Well, I'm sure she'll be happy about that. Like, Ben, I'm glad you're interviewing me.
Well, she might have wanted it. We're just assuming. But...
Jordan.
She played well. Definitely better than Kimmy, I would say. Probably the best out of everyone who went out before her. I think she played. She basically did play, I would say, on par with maybe. Like, she probably played as good a game as Parvati in Micronesia. I'm not saying she would have won in the finals. I think Parvati only won because Amanda sucked in the finals. But, she could have easily been the new Parvati in Micronesia, or the new Amber from All Stars, or, the new younger, non-threatening girl who plays a decent game and gets to the end. I don't think she would have beaten Jeremy. It would have been closer, but Jeremy had pretty much five guaranteed votes from the older people like Cass and Savage and Wigglesworth and Kimmy. There was one more, probably Keith still would have voted for him. And then Jeremy only needs one more vote, or for the other, somebody to get a third place, one vote getter, and Jeremy still wins 5-4-1 or whatever, 6-4. But so the only way she would have won is if she was in the finals without Jeremy. I think she could have beaten Spencer. But yeah, she played a very good game with the two idol plays, and she really fought out of the Witches alliance. Like, she was in that 3-person alliance in, what was it, the final 10 that everybody went after them, and Sierra, or 11, and then Sierra went out at 10. So she played a good game coming from behind, and like, she won a couple of immunities. I think she played a really good game. I think she, if she comes back a third time, I wouldn't be surprised. But like, I don't know if she should come back for a third time, but I wouldn't be surprised if she did, and I wouldn't be surprised if she got far.
James, I think's be right backing, unless you're back, James. No, all right, Pat.
I don't have a ton to say on Kelly Wentworth. I was super impressed with her. I really think that in terms of overall gameplay, she was the second best of the season. I agree that I don't think she beats Jeremy. I think it's very close, because I do think she has I do think she gets about 3 or 4 votes from the jury, which would have made things a lot more interesting. But, and Noah said something in the chat that I was really thinking was that in terms of her change, I mean, it comes apparent that she changed, but we didn't see any of her in San Juan del Sur. And I feel like if we had seen her in San Juan del Sur, this is kind of what her edit would have been like. So, I'm indifferent on her. If she were to return, that's fine. If she doesn't, I really don't mind. I thought she played a really good game.
What I think we'll really do here with the final tribal council and the final 3 is probably just lump a lot of it together, because we've kind of been going nearly for an hour here, and there's a few other things that we'll cover. So basically just discuss final tribal council, discuss the final 3, and you can also lump in Jeremy. So just basically really the rest of the people.
Everything.
Discuss season 32. Discuss the... I'll just quickly say that... Once again, we kind of go into this like, oh, it's going to be close between Spencer and Jeremy. Like, oh, this could be good. Like, blah, 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 blah. And it's a whitewash. So we're still 10 seasons now without a close vote. So I think it just speaks volumes for modern Survivor and kind of where we're at. And I maybe would say that we might not ever have a close vote ever again, just based on how things are now in Survivor. The final tribal council wasn't exactly the most... I mean, there's really nobody that stands out in terms of what they said. The only one, really, and I'm not just saying this because I love the woman to death, Kelly Wigglesworth. It's come full circle.
There you go.
Like, just her, whole speech of, I was sitting there 15 years ago, I lost because of one question, I'm going to ask that question right here tonight. Like, just...
But she was always voting for Jeremy, though, right?
I reckon. But it's just hilarious. Like, it's just, good on you, Wigglesworth. Like, you go, girl. Well, that would have been better if she had come out and, like, gone, I've been waiting for this moment for 15 years. Spencer, there are two types of players in this game.
Well, at least she didn't have a notepad with her.
Yeah, Abby, like, Jesus. Like, Sue Hawk can recite hers off the top of her head, and she's Sue Hawk. Like, bloody oath, Abby. She'd had a bit much to drink the night before, I think, or, like, what the hell was going on there? But at least we didn't have a Spencer or a Jeremy this season, like, going, come on, guys, you all know you've got to vote for Jeremy. Like, you don't want to vote for Spencer. You don't want to vote for Tash, who was there, by the way, in the final three, if nobody realised. And, yeah, it was a surprise that it was a 10-zip whitewash, making Jeremy, the person to get the most votes ever in the final tribal council, because he beats Earl's 9, I believe. And the question is, and I guess the question is no, he didn't play a perfect game because he technically got votes for him, even though they technically were then negated. But, he didn't play a perfect game because he was voted for, so I guess that argument's stupid, Ben. But, yeah, quickly, my thoughts, again, don't really give a shit about me, but whatever. Tasha, she played a game. Like, I don't know, I'm indifferent on her game. Like, she had patches there where she was playing great and she played a lot better than Cagayan, but there were definitely parts there where I feel she was over hyped up as that, and she really died out towards the end, and she was never going to win this game, basically, based off this episode and what we saw. So, but I'm glad that she made it to the end. There are moments of her personality in game that I do enjoy, and I don't dislike her. But, probably out of the final 5, she was my least favourite out of those 5, but that's not to say I still don't like her. I do like Tasha. Spencer, I've always been a fan of Spencer. I've liked Spencer, but there's just something about him that just gets on my nerve a little bit sometimes, and that's not, again, to be anything personal against him. I've always enjoyed having him on this show, and I enjoy watching him, but there are just some moments, it's a little bit too much, and I think he really kind of threw bits of it away in the way he acted and got all arrogant and cocky. It was almost like this Spencer we saw pre-game Cagayan that, we never ever got to see. Like, he finally came out right at the end, and the fact that he's come away as a no-vote getter at the final tribal council is quite amazing to kind of think that. And Jeremy, he was my favourite, top 2, top 3 favourites in San Juan del Sur. I was devastated when he was voted out. I remember saying that to him on the exit interview. I said to him, I don't want to be talking to you right now. I want to be speaking to you in about another 6 weeks when you win this season. And I came into this, I voted for him every single time to be on this season. He was one of my favourites this season. I just love Jeremy. I think he's a fantastic person, great to chat to. I think he's a great player, and I think he thoroughly deserved to win this season. How he managed to go this entire season basically with no target on his back, be in a position where, for the most part, yes, okay, he went a very long time without ever being in danger because he didn't have to go to tribal council, but the fact still is that even when he was up, he wasn't really targeted. He wasn't really, brilliant in challenges, and somehow was there. And sort of Noah and I were kind of discussing the prospect of, where is he ranked as a winner? And, it was kind of like, he's not top 10, he's sort of middle. But I don't know. I definitely think on a rewatch, I could maybe put him on the edge of the top 10. I would have to rethink that. But he's nowhere near top 5. He, to me right now, is sort of lower tier of the teens and possibly just on the edge of the top 10, but I think he played a great game, and I think he thoroughly deserved to win it, and I'm thrilled that Jeremy won this season. That's Ben Waterworth's thoughts. You're welcome, world. Pat, everything that I just discussed and more, and welcome Zachary Chong for joining us for the first time today.
Well, starting with the final 3, in terms of these 3 people in their original season, I really hated all 3 of them. I mean, go back to the preview episode, Jeremy, I don't think I said a nice thing about him, but in terms of this season, I don't necessarily like Jeremy, but, he grew on me a little bit. He wasn't really a little crybaby. And then Spencer and Tasha, Spencer, they tried to emphasize how he wasn't a game bot. He in my eyes, he is a game bot. That's all he really is. I'm sorry. And then Tasha, really don't care for Tasha. Maybe not to Julian levels after last week's Oztopsy, but I really didn't like her at all either. But the final tribal council, I was really, really pleasantly surprised. I mean, it kind of sucks that I believe it started with like 12 minutes left in the episode because of, how much stuff they had to cram into 2 hours. But I was really under the impression that it was just going to be 10, well, not all of them, but a bunch of egomaniacs on the jury talking about themselves and, saying how, asking personal questions or personal attacks or the awful David Murphy speech. So that was really nice. In the Kelly Wigglesworth question, I have never geeked out so much in a Survivor episode in my life. I was like, that was phenomenal. That I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. That was just brilliant. By far her best part of the season. But so yeah, the final tribal council, it wasn't brilliant, but compared to recent final tribal councils, it was pretty good, I'd say. And in terms of Jeremy as a winner, I can't really. I'd probably put him in the lower half. I just can't. I remember I was on the Oztopsy where Steven went home, and it was the episode where Jeremy found the second idol and had that big crybaby moment, and we all said how obvious it was going to be, and I don't think that it was going to be. It was as obvious as it was set to be right there. So I like the fact that it wasn't super obvious, so I'd probably put Jeremy into lower in the middle half, but the final tribal council, loved it.
James is gone completely.
That phone call.
Yeah. I don't know, that must have been very, very important. Noah.
Yeah, I try not to go on and on like I do. I'll just say for the tribal council, no issues with it. Kelly's one was great. It was kind of rushed because I had to rush it. No closing and opening, but they had no time. So it was fine. It was better than a lot of the ones we've had in recent years. So pretty good. I'll just say Tasha first. Again, it was like Kelly Wentworth. Like a lot of people were either they love these people or they hate them. I'm just like, yeah, she's all right. It's Tasha. I voted her on. Is my audio dead? Apparently, something Zachary Chong reckons.
No, don't listen to him. I can hear you. That's fine. That's all we need.
People here can hear me. Yeah. So Tasha, I can almost defend Tasha's game in a way, only because of Spencer. If we're going to get all on Tasha, she's the biggest goat, she sucks. Don't we also have to say at least something similar about Spencer? He also got 0 votes. And I do think she played a better game this time around. Yeah, there were times when she was kind of annoying or came off as fake, but at the same time, I think it's a bit of a discredit to say she's the ultimate goat and didn't play a decent game. It was still all round, the three of them played decent games, even the ones who got 0 votes. So, yeah, she's not the greatest. Her character's annoying sometimes, but I kind of like Tasha. She's alright. I voted for her. One person I didn't vote for is Spencer Bledsoe. I'm not a fan. I get why people are fans. He's the super fan, and people can relate to him and stuff like that. I've just never thought he was a great player, and people hype him up so much. And, Kakiyan, he barely did anything, but let's not get into that. And this one, he improved. I don't think Spencer played a horrible game, but clearly, evidently, Ben, you were right, Spencer loses the game last week. He had a path to go with 3 goats. Kelly Wentworth is not a goat, and even Keith, as we've discovered, maybe Keith also wasn't a goat. Abby, well, yeah. He had a huge shot of winning against them, and he chose to go with the other people. So I think for that matter, both Spencer and Tasha should be heavily scrutinized for that, because they both chose to go with someone that they couldn't beat, and it was ignorant of them not to think they could beat him. And then the tribal council, he's like, oh, I should have done this. And you see Kelly Wentworth and Keith going, well, yeah, you should have done that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think we can defend his game too much in that final stretch. I don't, and even think to the start, he almost got voted out week 2. Shireen was just a little bit more annoying for them to vote out. Like, he could have been gone. And a lot of his game is just other people saving him all the time. Like, that's the kind of joke, that he's always being saved by someone else. So he made the Steven move, but other than that, like, yeah, very questionable decisions on Spencer's behalf. I don't hate him. I just don't like the over-the-topness of, I need to say I love you, and like I need to have the most confessionals. Like, that's not his fault. It's a producer's fault. But I don't love that though. So yeah, Spencer outside the game, I like him on your interviews. I like him on Twitter and all that. In-game Spencer, I'm not a fan, and I never voted for. And I don't mean to be cruel, but it's hilarious that Spencer Bledsoe, the know-it-all, the super fan, the people who claim he's one of the greatest players to never win, is a no-vote runner-up. That's kind of funny. And like, that's not him who calls himself that. That's the fans who say he's like that. But yeah. So Spencer didn't play. What was that?
I'm sure he says that he is.
Oh, probably. Yeah, Spencer and Tasha didn't play horrible games, but both had questionable decisions. And I think if we're going to rip into Tasha, we've also got to rip into Spencer. But yeah, they're all right. And also, sorry, side note on Spencer, I love they brought that up in the final tribal council, how off-putting he was in the Kelly Wentworth vote out. I'm not going to vote for you, Jeremy, if you make this move. It was blackmail, and it wasn't bullying at all, but it was blackmail, and I'm glad the jury called it out, because it really was off-putting. And he was just fighting for his life. You can't really blame him. It was the heat of the moment, but still. Finally, Jeremy. Yeah, I had a few issues. I did vote him on, even though I wasn't a huge fan of his in San Juan del Sur. Think he played a strong game. We'll talk about the Ozcap. I'll save some of my thoughts. I don't want to go on and on, but he deserved the win. We all called him a millionaire as soon as Wentworth was voted out. All three of us, Jeremy's won. I think most people had him high up on the pedestal pretty much from before the merge, saying, Jeremy's a huge contender. But it was good that they added some other players, so it wasn't like Season 30 where it's like Mike's pretty much the only one, or Carolyn. So at least they hid the fact, and they did a good job of hiding it a bit in the final tribal council. But then he had the speech about his wife pregnant, and after he wins immunity, they had that big moment. You knew he was winning, so it was not a surprise at all. He played a decent game. I wouldn't put top 10, but again, he swept the votes, which was a huge shock. Huge shock. And one thing maybe against his game, but not really, is that he never had to go to tribal council in the pre-merge, except for once where he voted Monica out. That's not a huge thing against his game, but at the same time, both times he's played, he hasn't had to play until later on in the game. But yeah, he made the moves, and no one ever targeted him, and he always had people who were willing to take him to the finals. So you can't discredit that. I think it's a very strong game. Kind of disappointed because now Earl Cole probably won't return for an all-winners season now that they have 2 African-American male winners. Like I think they should bring back 2 African-American males, but like, God forbid Survivor casting do that. Like, so there's probably ruined Earl's chance of returning, but that was probably pretty slim of happening anyway. Don't know if we'll see Jeremy again unless it's an all-winners, which I still don't think will happen, but yeah. Good game. I can't say where he ranks now because it's way too early. I'm going on and on. Good tribal council, good game from Jeremy, questionable decisions from Spencer and Tasha, but overall it was a strong Final 3, even though it's easily one of my least likeable Final 3s ever, but I think the 3 of them combined were strong games, even though they made mistakes. So, bye-bye.
Jordan.
I think this was the most predictable Final 3, predict the winner of, I would say, other than Boston Rob and Kim, this was extremely predictable. I think Jeremy could have called everyone on the jury a-holes, and Spencer could have given the most profound jury speech, and Jeremy still would have won 10-0 or 9-1. Maybe Abby wouldn't have voted for him, but no, I think that was supposed to be a joke. No. No, Jeremy had that in the bag. I think with Tasha, I kind of looked at her as being like Becky from Cook Islands. Like, I forget who said it, but like people didn't notice that she was there. Like, I don't know if it was Ben or Patrick who said that. But I still think that Tasha played a decent game. She kind of made moves with people. She didn't really, maybe other than when she was on Encore with Savage, that was maybe the only time where she really drove the vote as to who wanted to go home. And even then, I think Abby had a say back then. But Tasha's game, I think, not all that different from her game in Cagayan, although she was in a better position here. Not too bad. Maybe could have gotten a few votes if Jeremy was not in the final three. But didn't matter because he was in the final three. So overall on Tasha, not bad. Definitely not, you'll see her as being a 0 vote getter, but I think with the right people in the end, she would have gotten more votes. Spencer, I would say, he played differently than Cagayan. He said somebody said he wasn't in trouble. He was in trouble early on. In the second vote, he was powerless with Shireen, and Shireen went home, obviously. But after that, I think he was good. He really didn't make too many moves, I don't think. I think Noah said, like, take the three biggest goats to the end, or stick with Jeremy and Tasha. That was that looked like a terrible move to me. I don't know what it was like out there. There must have been a good reason to vote off Abby at that point. They said, like, oh, it would be a disservice to the fans to let Abby get to the end. I don't agree with that. There must have been some other reason. I haven't heard any. But Spencer, his game ended right there with that decision. I think Wentworth would have beaten him in the final. Maybe even Kimmy would have beaten him in the final. And Jeremy, he is, I guess I don't want to say he just dominated this whole game. I want to say he dominated. Well, maybe he didn't dominate the whole game, but he was never the target to be voted out. I was on the Oztopsy when Savage got voted out, and he was able to sway Savage away from voting for Steven, who Savage really wanted to go home for a long time, and he swayed Savage, and that was pretty hard to do, I would think. And, of course, well, they voted for the wrong person, obviously, but that's besides the point. And Savage went home that day. But I said on that Oztopsy that there were so many other targets besides Jeremy, and he was keeping them in front of him, like Spencer and like the three witches that were there back then that were targets, and Keith, who's good at challenges, and Tasha, who's pretty good at challenges, and Joe, of course, was still there. So all these targets are in front of Jeremy, and he's not taking any hits, and he's never a target until the final 6, where he pulls out the idol and he's safe. And then, of course, he wins Final 4 immunity and game over. So I think Jeremy, he had a lot of pull. I think he was very diplomatic in the whole game. I'm struggling as to where to put him in the winner rankings. I don't really have a winner ranking, but off the top of my head, I would probably put him like in the 11 to 15 range. I think he played a very good, very strong game. he made alliances early on. He made he put bigger targets in front of him, and he was able to sway people. And he made that final 3 agreement, maybe with 7 people to go, and stuck to it. And he made sure he can beat the 2 people in the end. I think with the Spencer thing, trying to bully, just to go back to Spencer, and then this is my last point. With the Spencer thing, I guess Cass was talking, or Kimmy maybe, about him bullying Jeremy. I don't agree with that. I don't think he was bullying him. He was fighting for his life. I agree with you, Noah. I'm not sure. He was probably over the top about it, but again, he was just fighting to stay in the game, and I don't blame him for trying to do it. I don't know how solid he was with Jeremy, or I guess he was really worried that his name was going to come up, and yeah, I think if, like, I thought it might have reflected better on the jury, but obviously they saw it as bullying Jeremy, which I don't think I agreed with. But yeah, I'm just gonna say, and I'm rambling on, but yeah, I don't blame him for saving himself, trying to save himself, and I guess the decision was already made. But yeah, those are my thoughts, pretty much.
Beautiful.
Pretty predictable final tribal. I compare it to One World or Redemption Island, where the winner was completely obvious going in. And Jeremy really did himself really well, because neither Tasha nor Spencer was a goat. Like, he took 2 non-goats to the end, like Kim did, and made them look like goats. So I think he needs to be credited with that.
Interesting point.
Yeah. Neither Tasha or Spencer got a goat edit. They both got, Spencer got elements of a winner's edit, and Tasha wasn't that bad on the edit.
I just quickly will say, we'll get into our final bits here, and obviously talk a little bit about this season coming up as well. I'm just reading some of the bits in the chat there. Pat, you've never seen Star Wars?
What?
No.
Go away!
Yes.
We don't want you here.
Well, obviously, you won't care if I tell you about what happens in the new
Yeah,
one.
let's everybody right now. Let's tell Pat what happens. Okay, so there's this scene. They're doing this thing, and all of a sudden,
Can't believe Jar Jar came back.
oh my god! Actually, we shouldn't
I did
spoil
not
Jar
expect
Jar
to
for
see Jar
Pat.
Jar and Leia are in a relationship. That was very unexpected.
We shouldn't spoil Jar Jar for Pat, because he doesn't know the pain of Jar Jar.
It will,
And
it will
Noah's
remain a
getting
mystery for me.
shit. Noah's getting shit in the chat for being on his phone. I just got a message actually.
Well, James left to talk on the phone, and you're getting off of me.
I'm not going off of you, because I just got a message. I'm going to send a shout out here to somebody, one of our long-term listeners, who I don't know if he's ever sort of been mentioned on this show. He sort of messages me a lot, just on my personal account. Blake, hello Blake. I think he's actually sitting here watching the episode of Survivor right now. So everyone, hi Blake.
Hi Blake.
He hasn't seen Star Wars yet, so don't tell him that Jar Jar and Leia have a son. So just keep that keep that secret.
He's the next of kin.
Oh, excuse me. I'm just dying of the heat here. We're complaining that it's like in the 30s, and they're complaining about the 40s in Adelaide, whatever. The reunion, yeah, it was there. Everybody, with the exception of Wigglesworth, Cass didn't get spoken to. Wow. Wu, Shireen, Monica, PG did not get spoken to. We always like to keep track of that. Of course, if you didn't hear the rumours during the week, Vetus banned from the reunion because he left Cambodia early to be with his son.
Why didn't they put the pre-merge in the audience?
Exactly. No Wigglesworth being spoken to. We were robbed. It turned into the Joe Wank Fest. Oh my god! Seriously, why do we always have to have this? Like, this is not Survivor. Sorry to everybody out there who likes Joe. We get it. He's sexy, but we don't need to watch it. And very inspiring speech. I was not going to apply for Australian Survivor until I heard Joe speak. So Thanks, Joe. And next season, a very interesting preview. We're so used to kind of them talking up previews like, in Survivor, we're used to seeing this and this next season. But this time it's like, let's just hear confessionals already from players. And let's actually see people getting medevaced. Like, very interesting. So I'm going to butcher this. I'll get it pronounced correctly eventually. Is it Carl Wrong? Carl Wrong?
I think it's Co-Wrong.
Co-Wrong.
Is it just me,
Ben
or did
was
he?
so wrong.
Did he not even barely hype up the twist?
Yeah.
Bronze vs Beauty. I swear they barely even mentioned that.
It should have been like Survivor, Co-Wrong, lots of people getting evacuated. Like, not just outwit, outplay, outlast,
Death
Bronze
Island.
Beauty. It was just all about that. So this is technically was season 31. For those who didn't know, this season was filmed before the season we just watched. So these people have been sitting around for ages. The cast has been spoiled for quite some time. So if you do want to know, not that you didn't see like 3 or 4 of them already in this preview, but if you're dying to see who's on this cast, Google it. We won't provide you links, but it's out there. It's not that hard to find. But yeah, we're back.
Strike off the confessional count.
We're back to Brains, Brawns, Beauty already. And generally, as we learnt, the sequels in Survivor generally not usually better in terms of these twists. Fans versus favourites. A lot of people argue Blood vs. Water 2 was worse. I disagree with that. And yeah, maybe the only sort of sequel that people argue worked was Heroes vs. Villains in terms of sequel for a full All-Stars season. So yeah, a bit to cover there. Jordan, just quickly, if you could give me your thoughts on, anything on the reunion you might want to add, but mainly on Co-Wrong.
Unique preview, I would say, with the confessionals. The medevacs, it's kind of shocking that they actually showed footage of them happening. With the helicopter and whatever else they showed. There was a contestant from Big Brother US, season 16. I don't want to mention who it was, but that person was really not strategic and naive and somehow made it, pretty far into the game, but didn't win. So that'll be interesting. And just, I guess, do I have anything to say? Yeah, like in the reunion, I like that Jeff didn't go out and talk to random people. That hasn't happened in a while.
We just got random shots of kids in the crowd, like giving thumbs up to Joe.
The Joe kids.
Yeah. So, I'll have fun talking about if I get on if I'm able to get on do these cast preview, talking about some of the cast members. But looks interesting. Season previews don't really give you that much, but this one with the confessionals, pretty unique, and looks good. And Jeff's hyping it up because it's a sequel, and the first one was really good. And I don't think you can top Kagiyan as a season, unless you get a Heroes vs. Villains type season, or something. I don't think it could be as good as Kagiyan. I think Kagiyan was just lucky in that it was a great cast, and that's a whole different conversation. But it's going to be tough to live up to Kagiyan.
We've lost you're Jordan. We've lost Pat. Pat's gone too. So bye, Pat. Wow, everyone's dropping like flies. Noah, Co-Wrong and reunion.
Don't really have too much to add on the reunion. I'm just happy we didn't get this as a plate of spaghetti. Here, girl, eat your rice. But yeah, we did get the Joe kids. A shot at, like, God forbid a reunion not have children in it. Kids love Survivor. Here's a painting. But yeah, it was a stock standard reunion. Like, we can't really complain. It's not brilliant. It's just they talked to a few people about the season. It was fine. The reunions are kind of redundant nowadays, but yeah, it was fine. It was better than last season, that's for sure. But yeah, they were missing the extra footage. And Keith, you actually nearly passed out. Well, I didn't actually, Jeff. Well, I've got footage. You're lying. Integrity of the show. We were missing that. But,
what was with Keith's voice?
I think he must have been partying a bit too hard the night before because I was seeing pictures of them at the party. So, but yeah, stock standard reunion. I love the charity, the auction. It's going to the Danik Strong Foundation, which is pretty cool, rather than the normal one they do. Not sure what the other foundation thought of that, but I thought that was an awesome touch to have that where all the auction proceeds go to. But nothing else to add on that, really. The new season, funny way of marketing it to have Medivacs all in the... Which is annoying because I normally like to rewatch these previews, but if I rewatch it and see, well, that person's getting medical attention, but we're in episode 3 and there's no medical attention, they're clearly not going home tonight. So we almost have to avoid the previews now, and I like to rewatch them just to dive into them a bit, but they've basically spoiled a good chunk of it. Unless this is all on day one, there's a massive, outbreak of some disease or something, and
or
all
a player
these
goes on a rampage, like, fuck you all! Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, so... Yeah, interesting way to market it, and funny that they didn't hype up the brains versus brawn versus beauty, they didn't hype that up. That was just like, oh, alright. And also funny that they gave us player names and confessionals. It was like, what was it? Deb or something, I think it said there. Deb! Hashtag standby rocks.
Hashtag download Deb Rich interview.
Yeah, it was awesome. So that was really interesting. Names and Medivacs. So as for the twist, I think I'm the biggest advocate for 3 tribes, but it's just repetitive and not so special if you do it every season. They've done it every season except for Sam Wandel Sir since 28 and also in 25. So you've got to mix it up a bit. And also, I feel like it's a bit lazy. Yeah, it worked. And it's not a huge issue because they barely even bring up the twist. By episode 4, we won't even be caring about the twist. But there's other twists you could come up with. I always maintain urban, suburban versus rural. I think that would be a good one. Something like that. East Coast, West Coast.
I'm on for the geography.
Other coasts. There are other things. Obviously with the 3 tribes, they have to have a twist because we're so dumb that we would not be able to know who's on what tribe. But, yeah, there's other things. So it's not a huge issue, but I feel like it's a bit lazy on the producer's behalf. Just have a 3 tribe season with no twist, but they'll never do that. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting coming off this season, going to just a regular season. But yeah, bring it on.
Pat, you back? Hello.
Yeah. Sorry, my computer overheated.
I thought there was a phone call or something like that. Just quickly, we've just talked a little bit about the reunion and Survivor wrong. Anything to add on your thoughts on those seasons at all?
Season 32, I'm excited. Season 32, I'm excited to see. And there's an NBA player, Scott Pollard, who's going to be on the season. They showed him briefly. They tried that with Cliff Robinson, who is painfully boring, but I guarantee that Scott Pollard will not be boring at all. So, but besides that, they did say that the conditions in Cambodia are grueling, and we did see some of that. But it looks like unless they just drew out a bunch of scenes from 2 different medevacs, then there's really a lot going on.
Yes. Sorry, I thought you were continuing there. Yeah, it's...
No, sorry.
Brawn, beauty again. Yeah, look, it was a good twist, but yeah. Just, again, I'm an advocate for just do a season without a twist. Just have a normal season. We don't need to have a gimmick. That's what Survivor was. So, anyway. A few things that close it up on, in terms of finishing things with sweeps and everything, just quickly on our power rankings. So basically, I won't draw this out. Colin wins our power rankings predictions. He a total of 18 points. Jared leaps up into second, 13 points, and Noah, you and I equal third, 9 points.
Hooray.
So well done to Colin. Congratulations. For our sweep, it is a big congratulations to Nock Chista. Oh, shot Nock one.
Nick always wins.
Stop winning, Nick. The new Jummy. But Nick correctly had me draw him Jeremy. So Nook is $100 Rocha. And that's 100 Australian dollars. He could probably buy like Auckland with that. So well done, Nick. Now in terms of second and third, because it was equal second, Julian and Clifton. Julian had Spencer. Clinton had Tasha. There's $80 left in the kitty, so I'll split it 40 each. So rather than one getting 50, one getting 30, we'll make it 40 each. So congratulations to those two. Pre-season, now obviously our questions that we ask in our preview episode, we go over in our OzCap. So we won't go all over these, but I will quickly go over in terms of who gets the points based on the finishing bits here. And also, we'll look at our orders from last week as well quickly, because we did do that as well. So, for Kimmy, who finished in sixth position, one person correctly predicted she would finish sixth, meaning that they get 2 points. Noah, congratulations! You said Kimmy would be sixth. So,
what, in the pre-season?
Yeah, pre-season. You said Kimmy would be sixth. Two people correctly predicted Keith would be fifth. Paul said that Keith pre-season would be fifth, so he finally gets his first points of the year, of the season. And Noah, you also correctly said that Keith would be fifth. So, congratulations.
Let's not get to my final three.
What was that,
I
Jordan?
had him in sixth. I thought I was getting a point
thought,
there.
yes.
I had him in sixth.
Very close. Fourth position with Kelly Wentworth. The point there, nobody correctly predicted fourth. However, we had one person predict third, one person predict fifth. They'll both get the point. Paul got the point for Keith. No, where am I looking at there? Hang on. What? This makes no sense. Kelly, it was Alec who had it fifth there. Sorry, I'm looking at the different line. Ben fails. Alec said fifth for Kelly. And Ryan, I think you're listening to us live in the chat, you said that Kelly would be third, so well done. In terms of the second place, so for Tasha and Spencer, Colin correctly predicted he would be second. So Colin gets 2 points. And Tasha, the person who gets points on that one, Jordan, that's you. You said she would be fourth, so you were closest there. Interesting, you were the only one who put her top four, obviously. Colin had her at fifth, Alec at eighth, and nobody else. Oh, Clifton also eighth. Nobody else. A couple did. Never mind, you had ninth. Noah, just shut up.
Yeah, I had final five, all women.
And then that leaves us with the winner. And I would have to go through the tapes here to see if we've ever had any Ozlets correctly predict the winner before. But we've got two here. One person, you can hear him get a little bit excited. Pat, well done. You correctly predicted Jeremy is winning this season, as did Ryan. So, well done to the both of you. The final scores, however, we have a four-way tie here for the win. 6 points. Myself got 6, even though I haven't got any correct predictions since Sierra. I got 3 exactly correct. I got Sierra in 10th, PG in 18th, and Shirin in 19th. Noah, congratulations. With your 2 bits here, you are also equal first. You correctly got Kimmy, Keith, and Sierra. Patrick, congratulations. You are also equal first. Obviously, with your Jeremy prediction, you had Vetus as the first boot. So you had the first boot and the winner. Good job.
Destiny.
And Terry corrected.
Didn't do much in between.
And 15th. Clifton, well, he also equal first there. He correctly had Wigglesworth in 11th, Savage in 12th, and Stephen in 9th. And that's it. Jordan, you finished on 2 points. And
Yay.
Other people, Cable just quickly, everybody got points this season. That's great. So Cable got 1, Ryan finished with 5, Gabriel with 1, Tom with 4, Nock with 2. Can't win it all, Nick. Jordan has already said there. Alec 1, Rossi 2, Colin 4, Jared 1, and Paul with 2. The only question I want to close this out on is because we generally ask our closing season questions in our OzCap. One question that I could really add in the OzCap, but I just want to add this now because we lose the fan favourite vote. And I know that some websites and podcasts do their own and sort of create a little award for it. This season's quite difficult, I feel, maybe for a fan favourite. Who would be your fan favourite this season?
Is it?
Well, I don't know.
We had our entire 20 minutes dedicated to Joe and his children and his inspirational quotes.
Well, okay. Give us who you think would have won it and who you would give it to then. Noah.
Well, Joe would have won it. It's not even a debate. Joe would have won it. I feel like maybe Wentworth could have been second place. Who knows? I think Spencer would have been up there as well. He probably would have been second or third. Jeremy, I think he would have been up there, but not in the top 3. But definitely Joe. If not Joe, Wentworth or Spencer. As for who I would want it to be,
well,
is that just saying who's my favourite player?
Maybe it's a stupid question. Whatever. Are we all unanimous on Joe here? That would have won it.
Yeah. He, like 5 people got hate mail for voting him out?
Oh.
It was more
people
than
on the
hate mail,
streets
too.
want his number, though. Jeff and his street people.
I haven't.
Yeah. I would have voted for Varner.
Just quickly here,
Yes.
Tom Shembree's question. Hi, Tom. You can join us.
Tom's final question of the week.
Did Spencer deserve votes? If so, do you think Jeremy telling the jury about Val's pregnancy stole the vote? That's an interesting question, I guess. Quickly, anything to add with that, Pat?
I think he actually, I remember before Jeremy's last little speech, I was kind of counting, and I think I had Spencer getting 2 votes prior to that point, and then a few that were unknown, so I think he could have gotten 2, maybe, but I definitely think Jeremy's final speech sealed the deal.
Jordan, anything to add with that?
Spencer should have gotten 1 vote for answering Kelly Wigglesworth's question with 4.
Yeah, that's true. Noah, anything?
I don't think it stole votes, but I definitely do think it helped him a lot. But I don't know if he should have got votes. Just a quick question, maybe, I don't know, you can answer this, Ben. I was thinking during the course of this discussion like, people put Spencer on a bit of a pedestal, but is he really that much better than Tasha? They played virtually the same game, and arguably he made more mistakes and was on the bottom more, but he gets a huge edit and is a huge fan favourite. But I don't know, if we look at it, is he really much better?
It's a very good point.
He got no votes.
I guess I was about to say he controlled at least 1 vote, but I guess you could argue that with Tasha when they were on...
Ankle.
Yeah, so...
Like, no one's thinking it, but if we really think and discuss
Tasha and Abby controlled that vote at Angkor.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, no?
I'd say he's a little bit better.
On what grounds? I
Not
guess?
much, but yeah.
Well, he was better in the challenges by a little. Well,
Tasha's still great in challenges.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Maybe we'll put that to the listeners. Send us in tweets.
I'd genuinely be interested in hearing people's opinions if you want to tweet me about it.
I think if it was
tweet
the
us,
final 2...
Hashtag Noah hates second chances.
Hashtag Jar Jar dies.
Still getting that.
I think it was a final 2 between Spencer and Tasha. I think Spencer wins.
Probably.
Well, there you go. We'll see how that goes out there. Thanks to everybody for tuning in this season, though. It's been a lot of fun. And just saying this before, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, we were just wrapping up Worlds Apart, like, oh, holy crap, we've got this new cast and reactions, and it was just the hype, and we're so excited, and here we are at the end of it, and it's just gone by so quickly. It was the most extensive pre-season coverage that I think we've ever done, and until they do another one, I don't think we'll be doing a coverage quite like that of any season as well. So,
Australian Survivor.
Well, that too, probably, yes. In terms of the US version. So thank you, everybody, for sticking us through the journey. It's been a lot of fun, and, of course, we'll be back in February for Co-Wrong. Not a big fan of the logo. Can I just point that out there? It's...
Worst logo ever.
Yeah, not too keen on it. Now, just a few housekeeping things in terms of our recap. Todd Herzog, winner of Survivor China, will be joining us this week to wrap up the season, wrap up the finale. So looking forward to hearing Todd's thoughts. We're recording that Sunday afternoon Australian time, so I will put a post up tonight or tomorrow about get questions in for Todd. If you haven't downloaded the Deb Rich interview, I don't know what was more anticipated yesterday, watching Star Wars or listening to Deb, Rich, Nee Eaton talk Survivor. Goes for about an hour. It rocks, doesn't it, Noah?
It's totally raw.
And Noah, just inform the people who have listened to it right now. You've enjoyed 24 hours of texting Deb Eaton, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been having some discussions with Deb Rich, so very fun to have some chit-chat with Deb. Hashtag standby rocks.
I just love the fact that they're just literally texting. This is like Noah's, ultimate.
Facebooking. I feel like texting is a bit
just say texting. It sounds cooler. But, yes. And one thing, I haven't really, not that really anybody's sort of questioned us about it, so maybe these aren't really that popular, but whatever. We're not having a Christmas episode this year. I should really put it out there. Just realised nobody's...
If you did say anything, no one would have known.
Yes. We're sadly not having one this year. We're having a year away from it. We always enjoy doing the Christmas episodes, but... that time of year, lots happening, lots going on. So, hopefully we'll bring it back in 2016. But, yes, Pat, thank you. Give us a hashtag for, let's just say the season, and a hashtag for the Oztopsy to close it out.
Oh, God, I didn't even prepare for this. Oh, boy.
Oh, you had one job, Pat.
I know. Well, hashtag for the season is obvious. Well, the hashtag for the season of Oztopsies is obviously basically Benry. And... the hashtag, for the season of Survivor would be,
Not voting block, David. I'm so sick of hearing that phrase.
Vetus's massive penis. Let's just go there. I mean, seriously. I rewatched the first episode today. Jesus Christ. That's why
talk about chubs.
That's why he's not allowed to... Oh, Jesus, chubs too, man. These hashtags could go on forever.
That's the exact hashtag I was going to go with, Pat. I've been sitting on that for 14 weeks. So, well, not his penis.
Oh, stole mine. I was going to say Vetus's big penis.
Jesus, Pat, you definitely watch Survivor very differently to the rest of us. Jordan?
I'm sorry.
For the Survivor season, hashtag we know who voted for Woo. And for the Oztopsy, hashtag Star Wars Takeover.
Yes, and Noah.
For the season... Let's just say it. We've got to say it one more time. Hashtag Wigglesworth edit was robbed. And also hashtag Shane and T-Bird were robbed of being here over Monica and someone else. Woo. And yeah, hashtag for this one. I've got a Chewy cup.
Thank you once again.
Can I just say before we go, we had a callback with the Boston Rob literally carrying his family on his back challenge today.
Yeah,
Keith literally using the step as a crutch or something like that.
He literally was, unlike Boston Rob.
Yeah, that's right. In the Amazing Race, he actually did carry Amber on his back, but that's another story.
Just so that they could make that line have context.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in.
I thought that was pretty
throughout this season and supporting us. It's always a lot of fun. This pretty much will be after our episode recap on Sunday, our last episode of the year. We'll go on a couple of weeks break before we'll do the Oz Cap in the new year. So, for everybody listening, have a happy, safe holidays, no matter what you celebrate and observe. Hanukkah, Christmas, and all the other festive holidays that are probably out there. Christmaka. I don't know the others, but anyway, there's the ones I know. So I'll cover all the bases by saying happy holidays. Thanks for tuning in. And we will speak to you next season when Survivor Ko-Rong hits the screens. Good night, farewell,
Bye.
and may the Force be with you. Hashtag Jar Jar dies. Good night.